I am here with Dr. Melanie Guerrero, who is running for the position of trustee in the Highland Falls Village election coming up next week. Melanie, can you just give us an idea of who you are and why you decided to run?
Yes. Yes, I'm Melanie Guerrero. I'm a practicing physician, and I have board certifications in pulmonary, which is the lungs, uh, critical care, the intensive care unit, and internal medicine. I have a fourth board certification, which is in sleep medicine, but I don't practice that. Um, I have an MBA from Georgetown University. I'm also a veteran. I retired from military service in 2011. I was a physician at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C. My husband and I own a couple of businesses. We also own property in both D.C. and here in New York. Why did I run? Why am I running? I'm running because I like Highland Falls. I think the village is great. It's in a very good location. I like the people. I think it's charming. I think it's a good place. But I think like anything else, it could be better. And I want to actively participate in getting there.
How did you hook up with Joe DeWitt and Og Anderson and make the decision to run?
Oh, yes, yes. So I met them through mutual friends. I was in the Chamber of Commerce. My husband and I both became very active when Jim Maudlin was the president. And through there were a lot of activities that they introduced us to. The community activities, farmers market, vision, the art walk, the tribute banners, all of those. So I met Joe and Olga through all those community partnerships.
And it's just in the last few months, around the new year, I guess, you decided to make a campaign of it, to run for the board.
Yes, yes. We were told that there's going to be a couple of seats available, and they're looking for people who are interested in, in making a change. So I said, oh, I would be interested in that. Olga said the same. Joe DeWitt said the same, so that was great.
So one of your businesses, at least, is on Main Street, and I've been asking all of the candidates about what they see as challenges that the village board faces in the years ahead. And Main Street tends to keep coming up. What is your impression of how the village board could help our Main Street?
Oh, yeah. I've had this 2-year experience on renovating the 427 Main. And I'm really, disappointed that there are so many unoccupied spaces. I mean, 30%, I counted them. There were 17 at least. Good buildings. I mean, just really wonderful buildings, but they look like they're in a state of disrepair. There are signs that have been there for years, and yet there are no businesses there for years. So just not not very attractive. How do I think we can make that better? I think we have to be friendlier to people who are coming in and saying, I have an idea. I would like to make this place better. What I've experienced and what we've experienced, my husband and I, is that it's sometimes the building department is not friendly with it. And I think we need to help as part of the village, as part of the town, as part of the building department, to help people with great ideas make it happen instead of keeping it from happening.
There are a couple of different schools of thought on what Main Street needs. Do we need businesses that attract tourists, or do we need businesses to support local residents?
Okay. Well, I think it's going to be both, but I don't want that to be a cop-out answer. We have tourists, so attracting tourists is not the problem. West Point brings in 1 million tourists a year. The parents, come every weekend, at least before COVID. to visit there, and they're looking for places to go to. The people in West Point, I lived in West Point for a couple of years, almost 3 years, inside West Point. We wanted to come out to the village and be customers to the businesses. But we really couldn't find good businesses, that would invite us or entice us to go there every weekend or every night if we were to want to go out. So I think, the businesses should be for the tourists who are already here. They are here. But when they look at Main Street, they have to want to go across the street and hang out and buy something. So yes, it should be for them. And it should be for the 4,000 people in Highland Falls, almost 4,000 people in Highland Falls. There should be a meeting place for them, a place where they can sit down and stay and have coffee and look around and sit down and meet up with friends. So it should be for both. And I can't see why it couldn't be.
You have an interesting perspective, having been someone who lived on West Point, coming out into the community, and living out in the community, going into West Point. When you were a West Point resident and not as familiar with Highland Falls, what type of business would have attracted you down? In the food family?
Food and I think knickknacks. Beacon has a fantastic array of Annapolis. I don't know if you've been there, but right outside the Naval Academy, Beacon, Cold Spring, Hudson. I've been there. I mean, they're just little stores with interesting things to see, and I would not hesitate to buy a little trinket, to take home with me because I find it cute or attractive. I wouldn't hesitate to go in a little cozy wine bar, and hang out with girlfriends for a couple of hours, order little things to eat and chat. I wouldn't hesitate to go to a clothing store that has a shirt that's different from what I could buy online. I think those kinds of businesses are attractive, something that make people go out instead of staying in.
Another challenge facing the community will be, as with every community in the nation and world, COVID. Recovering from COVID and the financial impact it's had on our community. As a doctor, do you have any insight on how, with the vaccine rollout and whatnot, how that is going to affect the community in the year ahead?
I think we're seeing it already. I think people are starting to come out. Businesses are opening. It is unfortunate, that did happen, and I think it can only get better. That's what I can say. It's certainly the rules on that is on a much higher level, and we just have to wait and see what happens.
We're all very hopeful. One of the buzzwords that always comes up around election time, and really all the time in Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery, is consolidation. Have you thought about the two very close communities and what could happen to make them more cohesive?
Yeah, I keep hearing about this, and I think, from a big perspective, it makes sense. It makes sense to get rid of things that are redundant, but it also makes sense not to make people unemployed, to take their jobs away from them and their families. How do we make them more cohesive? I mean, we have to prioritize services. I think services that we need, we shouldn't get rid of. We should make stronger. Do I think a village of less than 4,000 people, could benefit from collaboration with a neighboring village or town or community? I think so. I think, we're small enough that we should easily consolidate.
There are studies that have been done, and there's another study about to start, specifically police keeps coming up. There are many people who feel strongly that we need a full-time police department here, the town of Highlands has a full-time department but operated by part-time officers. Do you have any, obviously you're not on the board, you haven't done the research. Any strong thoughts on policing specifically?
No, I'm for the police. I think they're a necessity. Yeah, and I have good friends who are in the police department. Do I know about the details of what is causing us to think of things differently? I don't. And I think that would be one of the things that I would want to take a look at if I were elected, because it, like you said, keeps popping up.
It does keep popping up.
Yeah. And I think it's a big part of the budget. I think that's what people are saying, and that's why it needs to be looked at.
Policing costs in the United States overall are very expensive. Other challenges facing this community that you can think of? Where would you want to spend some time working?
Main Street. Yeah, I think your first question was right. I think that is what really got me interested in all of this. I think we need a better Main Street. We need to revitalize it. I think that's where you create community, actually. Yeah.
Hudson River access is another, because our Main Street is so close to the river, it gets tossed around every once in a while. Feelings?
There's that property down there where the train station used to be a train station. I think it's a beautiful piece of property. Access to the river, I don't think it's difficult, actually. I think regardless of where that access sits, I'm privileged, I guess, because I can access the river through West Point quite easily on the 2 docks. But for the people of Highland Falls, I would not want them to miss out on that. So if we can have access through that piece of property, that would be fantastic. I don't know how we're going to make that happen. I know it's private land.
It is. Fort Montgomery was able to take a piece of private land, though, and turn it into a nice, if rudimentary, park. It would be nice to see. The parks at West Point often have, with the picnic tables, stuff very filled with people.
Yes, yeah.
People like it. If you had...
I run down there, yeah. So it's if we have that kind of access, I don't know. Are they willing to sell? I guess first you need money.
First you need that money. If you had unlimited money, what's one thing you would do for Highland Falls?
Oh, if I had unlimited money, I'd probably bury all the power cables. And the other thing I would do is clean up the infrastructure on the water system. A couple of times a year, my water comes out brown on Main Street. But I would bury the power cables because I think they're an eyesore.
That comes up every couple of years as well. Interesting.
Is that right?
For someone who hasn't lived here that long, you're pretty in tune with the different issues. Talk to me about Joe and Olga. What do you think they'll bring to the table?
Oh my gosh. They're just good people. I think they're well-intentioned. They're, Joe in particular, he's very friendly. He's really very good at getting people together and getting them to, he's a peacemaker. So I think Joe has very special characteristics that would make him a wonderful leader. He listens to people, he's a peacemaker. Olga, very passionate. She's really very passionate about things, and I like it. One of my favorite TV characters is Judge Judy. She reminds me of Judge Judy. She gets things done, and she's very direct about it.
She is tireless, that's for sure. If you could, it's a big job being a mayor or being a trustee on the village board. Tell me something the current board has done right in recent years, something you admire that they've done.
Well, I think they're, I like how involved they are with the community. I do, there's a presence, the mayor has a presence. He's always outside. So That would be a characteristic that I would want out of a mayor, not somebody who's hiding inside their office. And I think Joe DeWitt would be great at that. I do think that the village, the streets, they really did a good job on the streets and the paving. So and the lights during Christmas, I like that too.
I like that too. Everyone likes that too. Melanie, I appreciate your time very much. Is there anything final you have to say the week before the election?
No, please come out and vote. I think that is an important thing to do, whether you vote for us or not. So,
Great.
yeah, come out.
Good. Again, I thank you